Scott, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? You're the first one in today. Am I first? Yep, you're first. How you been, Scott? How's things? Mike, good to see you. So how you doing? Evening. Evening, Miles of CMF. How are you? Tom, I'm doing great. How you doing? How you been? Comatose, good to see you. So how you doing? Hello, Miles of family. Let's go. Pablo, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles on CMF. Good to see you, offering forever. How you doing? How you been? Stormy, good to see you. So how you doing? Hey, Miles CMF. How you doing, Stormy? How you been? Hey, Miles, how are you? I'm doing great. T, how you doing? Ian, good evening, Miles and family. Hope you're okay. I'm doing great. How you doing, Ian? Hi, Rock Camel. Good to see you, brother. How you doing? Hi, Miles of CMF. Dennis, good to see you. How you doing? Hello, brother. Up, down, or sideways? The market is swerving all over the place, I'll be honest. Even Miles of CMF, Manny, good to see you. How you doing? So we'll do a gist of what we're going to go through on tonight's live show. And then we do the intro, disclaimer, and by that time, everyone's tuned in for the first part. Now, on tonight's live show, we have a mixture of news to go through, as usual. So, on tonight's live show, we're going to be talking about the potential Bank of Japan, essentially on the verge of increasing their rates and how that's going to affect the marketplace going forward. Then we're going to be talking about Visa and Santander Bank, who have just essentially partnered up with Brazil in terms of their CBDC venture. So Brazil CBDC is well ahead of majority of countries, and Brazil is launching next year regarding their CBDC. So Visa and Santander have just joined Brazil on their CBDC venture. We're also going to be talking about Venezuela on tonight's live show as well. We're also going to be talking about the news topics of Ripple on tonight's live show as well, and how Ripple legal victory holds until 2026, and why the SEC's appeal may not matter. We're also going to talk about Donald Trump on tonight's live show as well, but not just Donald Trump and Elon Musk. We're also going to go through the news topic on tonight's live show regarding Sui, the crypto project that is quite good on terms of what they achieve. But something interesting that's just came out of Sui is what we're going to talk about. They've essentially launched this in South Korea's essentially blockchain week that they do. And Sui essentially released a gaming tool, which I'll let everybody know once we get to that news. We're also going to talk about tonight's live show regarding Dubai. So a while ago, I revealed to everybody that a court case at Dubai ruled that people can be paid in cryptocurrencies as their wages. And it seems like that is going into rules and regulations, where Dubai is actually introducing rules and regulations for people being paid in cryptocurrencies. Because once that happened, where the judge declared that people can be paid in cryptocurrencies, now Dubai is about to be introducing the rules and regulations for this to actually be in motion. We're also going to talk about Telegram on tonight's live show as well. Telegram's CEO has just sent out a breaking message, and we're going to go through exactly what he said and what's going to be happening next essentially. We're also going to talk about Mark Cuban on tonight's live show as well. Mark Cuban and regarding Kamala Harris, and how Mark Cuban is not happy with Kamala Harris winning the presidency. We're also going to talk about on tonight's live show regarding MasterCard and how MasterCard debuts Euro, non-custodial bank and crypto debit cards. We're also going to go through the news topic on tonight's live show regarding Binance, and essentially Binance launching loans where you can borrow against your crypto assets and use them as collateral on the Binance. We're also going to talk about BitGo Exchange on tonight's live show, mainly because BitGo Exchange has just partnered with Swiss 6 Exchange. Now, Swiss 6 Exchange is pretty much the #1 exchange that is being used in Switzerland by majority of banks in Switzerland for testings of CBDC payments, testings of essentially tokenized bonds. Anything involving blockchain testing happens alongside Swiss 6 Digital Exchange. And now that has just partnered with BitGo. And I'm going to tell you why it's important that they've partnered with BitGo and who's another partner of BitGo. We're also going to talk about tonight's live show regarding Russia and Vladimir Putin, and how Vladimir Putin likes the idea of Kamala Harris becoming the US presidential candidate, mostly because Vladimir Putin sees it as he can push Kamala, wherever he wants to, whichever direction. And it's much more easier for Vladimir Putin to have Kamala as the president than Trump, because Trump will be a much more harsher president towards Russia or any other country. But Kamala Harris apparently is an easier choice for Putin, because Putin can just basically walk all over her in a very simple way. Now, on tonight's live show, those are the news topics we're going through news regarding Switzerland, Russia, Brazil, Venezuela, Japan. So quite a mixture of news to go through on tonight's live show. If you are watching this for the first time ever, welcome to the CMF Live Show. This is the CMF Live Show, stands for Crypto Miles Family. And on this live show, every single night, I talk about the most recent things that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations. This is episode 148 of the CMF Live Show. And the disclaimer of this live show, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. We also do Q&As as well, which means you ask the questions, I give you the answers. And we are live as usual, so it means, if you want to get involved inside the comment section, go for it. We are live on X and YouTube as always, in other words, every single night. So before we go for the first news, which is regarding Japan, the Bank of Japan, let's go inside the comment section first. Let's see where we were inside the comment section first, and then we'll go through the first news regarding the Bank of Japan and how things are moving over there and how it's going to impact the crypto markets and the stock markets in general. So let's see where we were at. We were at here. Thoughts on HBAR with the news of CEO resigning. Is that true? I don't know. If he's given out a statement, then probably yes. If he hasn't, then no. Hi, Miles. Did you get to catch the Trump Economic Club of New York speech? I got a glimpse of what he said, yes. Did you bring your crystal ball? We need some good news today. Yeah, there's a lot of things happening around the world, and there are good news towards the end of the live show. Did you bring... Yes, I did bring it, yeah. The crystal ball, yep. Sure. Share the live. Let's go, Scott. Hi, Miles. When will we see crypto summer? Jim, how you doing? Good to see you. Jim, regulations need to be in place for that outcome to happen. You've got to remember, Jim, that we're not in the same market space. We have more banks and more, essentially, institutions than ever before, and some regulations, which more regulations are also on the way. So the more we head towards regulations, the more money will enter the market space from banks and institutions. So hold on tight is what I would say. So is that sideways, bro? Pretty much for now. Hi, Miles. Messi, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hello, Miles and CMF. Good to see you all. Solomon, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hello, my family on YouTube. Share the live. I hope that everyone had a good night. Let's go, Scott. What is the best gaming token to invest in? The best gaming token to invest in? Sui. And I'll tell you why during this live show. I'm not going to tell you now why, but during this live show, I'll tell you why. Because they've introduced something that's game-related, heavily game-related, and they released this in the South Korea Blockchain Week as well. How's your day been, Miles? It's been great, Lena. Good to see you. So how you doing? Good evening, all. JP, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Callie, good to see you. So how you doing? Evening. Me to my employer. You can pay me in XRP, XNM, or XDC, please. Let's go, Stormy. Evening, Miles and CMF. Jason, good to see you. So how you doing? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Orphan, good to see you. So how you doing? So the first news on tonight's live show regarding Japan. Potential Bank of Japan rate rise. Unease in Japanese cryptocurrency markets. The Bank of Japan's potential rate hikes could essentially cause further turmoil in the cryptocurrency markets. Japan's share in the global crypto markets is declining, partly due to the strict tax rules that are applying over there. The global economy has been experiencing significant volatility recently, with cryptocurrencies being significantly affected as well. Notably, the expected interest rate cuts by the Federal Reserve have fueled market concerns. George, the chief economist at essentially Forces, warns that a drastic Fed rate could pose a substantial risk to the markets. The Bank of Japan stance. Adding to these uncertainties, Bank of Japan's governor announced that the Bank of Japan would persist in raising interest rates if economic conditions match their forecast. This announcement is crucial considering the dramatic drop of 12% in Japanese stock markets on August 5th, the most significant decline in 37 years. This plunge was partially due to the carry trade strategy, where investors took advantage of Japan's essentially low rates to borrow yen for buying profitable US assets. The impact was severe. The tech giants like Apple and Nevada experienced substantial declines. However, the crypto market was essentially hit the hardest, suffering its largest essentially single-day drop since 2023, when the Japanese markets impacted quite a lot. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum saw double-digit losses, whilst altcoins like Solana and Dogecoin declined by up to 30%. This sell-off led to approximately $1.114 billion in liquidations and wiped out nearly $600 billion from the market cap. Decline in Japan's crypto market share. In the recent meetings with Liberal Democrats party officials, the founder of SBI-owned Bitpoint and chairman of Japan's Cryptocurrency Exchange Association pointed out that Japan's shrinking role in the global crypto markets. Others stated that Japan's once dominant share of Bitcoin trading volume, which was around 50% from 2017 to 2018, has now reduced to a small fraction of the global total by 2044. This indicates that a substantial decline in Japan's cryptocurrency presence. He expressed concerns that Japan's strict tax rules could lead to a decrease in international competitiveness of Japanese Web3 related businesses. In response to these developments, Japan's Financial Service Agency, FSA, proposed a tax reform on August 30th. The request suggested that cryptocurrencies should be treated as financial assets, a viable investment target for the public. This reform could offer a clearer regulatory guidelines, potentially lessening the tax burdens and promoting broader public investments of digital assets. With Prime Minister Fumio recently announcing this step down in September, the future of Japan's economy and its impact on the cryptocurrency ecosystem is particularly intriguing. Now, Kishida's departure could also lead to policy changes which might affect both the broader financial landscape and the regulatory environments of digital assets. So Japan has essentially going through some turmoils right now, and they're afraid that they're losing their positions on their Bitcoin holdings, which they already have, to be fairly honest. I mean, America is pretty much leading in terms of Bitcoin holdings. The US government holds a ridiculous amount of Bitcoin, but not only that, the US corporations also hold a ridiculous amount of Bitcoin as well in terms of their ETFs. So Japan, yes, they are losing their positions on the crypto space, but mostly in Bitcoin positions. In terms of partnerships and contracts, Japanese essentially tech firms and Japanese banks have quite a lot of contracts in play. So they're not losing any sort of market share. But in terms of Bitcoin share, sure, they are losing out. But they want to solve that issue by introducing essentially rules and regulations to lower their taxes. So if Japan goes through rate cut season, could it affect the crypto markets? Yes, it could make it a little bit slightly volatile. Not like it did before, because before was something they've never done after 37 years. That's why the stock market and the crypto market was heavily impacted by Japan's markets, because they did something that they haven't done in 37 years. Now, if they go through a rate cut season, they're going to do small rate cuts that shouldn't really affect the market space too much and make it too volatile. On that matter, they are also going to be reducing their taxes so that cryptocurrencies become much more viable asset for anybody for the retail section to go for. So in all sense, what Japan's going to do next is quite positive for the crypto space. Unless they go through some extreme rate cuts, then it'll be quite negative. But if they're going to go very slow and modest, in all sense, it's a good play. Now, Visa and Santander selected by Brazil's central bank for a second phase of their CBDC pilot. Now, Brazil's CBDC called DREX is a CBDC that's been praised by the Bank of International Settlements for its milestones and achievements. And Visa and Santander have decided to partner on with Brazil, essentially developing their CBDC. So Brazil's central bank, BCB, selected on Wednesday 13 participants for the second part of the pilot of its central bank digital currency, CBDC, the digital real, in other words, DREX. The BCB and Brazil Securities and Exchange Commission, CVM, received 42 proposals for this second phase of the pilot called DREX. The bank said in a statement, the BCB will oversee 11 projects while the CVM will supervise 2. In the second phase of testing, the infrastructure created for the pilot will test the implementations of financial services available through smart contracts created and managed by third parties participating in the platform, the BCB added. The list of selected projects include global companies such as, these are the companies that are pretty much involved with Brazil CBDC. This is not the entire list. This is just a small fraction of the list. There's about 42 companies in total that are involved. So, such as Visa, which will work alongside the Brazilian brokerage XP and the digital bank Nubank to optimize the foreign exchange market. Spanish banking giant Santander, for its part, was selected to work on a project involving automobile operations and another focused on lending, essentially. The second part of the pilot will include other important local financial entities, such as Brandisco, Italio Banco, and local stock exchange B3. The BCB added that in the third quarter of 2024, it will open a new call for firms interested in participating in the DREX pilot, which should test the implementations of smart contracts by the end of the first half of 2025. So Brazil's CBDC is going to be coming out in 2025, and Brazil's very proud of their CBDC so far, their results. Now, Santander is essentially partner of Ripple. They utilize Ripple's technology. And then also on the other side, Visa is also a partner of Ripple as well. They're both now partnered with Brazil's CBDC, but Brazil's CBDC going to their central bank. Their central bank is a part of the Bank of International Settlements, who's also a part of Ripple as well. So on that basis, we can tell who's also involved in building their CBDC. Nothing happens by coincidence. It's all coordinated. But yeah, Brazil's genuinely moving forward faster than ever before in terms of their CBDC operations. And other countries are not that far behind either, to be fairly honest. Now, going on to the news on Venezuela. Venezuela's opposition leader hails Bitcoin as a lifeline. Now, we know for a fact that Venezuelan people have a very, very bad life. And that's due to their government, where their government has abused their currency to a point where their currency can officially be used as toilet paper money. I'm not even joking on that matter. Venezuelan money is equivalent to using toilet paper. It has pretty much zero value going for itself. And you know, essentially, the Venezuelan people are not happy about this issue. For a very long time, they haven't been happy about this issue. So the Venezuelan opposition leader has just came out. The opposition to this leader has just came out and said that Bitcoin is pretty much their lifeline. And if the Venezuelan people want to have some sort of freedom when it comes to their money, they should be headed towards Bitcoin. Or in a sense, you can, you know, go towards pretty much quite a list of cryptocurrencies for a sense of freedom. Now, before we go actually through that, let's go inside the comment section first. I'll tell you more. We're going to go for the Venezuelan news, but let's go inside the comment section first. Jason, good to see you. So how you doing? Even Miles, CMF. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Orphan, good to see you. So how you doing? Funky brother. Good evening, Captain Miles and the rest of the CMF crew. Let's go. What about Beam? Beam is a great project as well. BeamX, great in the gaming category. Cleveland, Ohio. Let's go, Mike S. How you doing? What's been happening with the Miles? Quite a bit, which we're going to go through. George. Hi, Miles of CMF. Let's go. How you doing? Glenda. Hello, Miles of CMF. Good to see you. How you doing? What up, Miles and family? Hope all was well, though. Ray, good to see you. How you doing? So you think Sui is sound investment, better than many? Not better than many, no. But it's a project to look into. Sui is a good project to look into, but not better than many. You know, there are lots of great projects inside the crypto space, and that could be one of them. Do you think they will use XRP for Bridge CBDC 2025? They're all going to be using it because it's in the Bank of International Settlements. Now, Venezuela, Sui or Render or Ton. If I had a choice and the Ton case wasn't going on, so the Telegram situation wasn't happening at all, out of Sui, Render, and Ton, I'm choosing Ton all day long. Ton is a better ecosystem than Render and Sui put together, to be fairly honest. I mean, look where Ton is and look where essentially Sui is or Render is on the list. Ton went from pretty much the bottom of the list on CMC to number 10. Where's Sui and Render to be seen? So in terms of ecosystems, Ton is well above both of them. Now, that's why I said there are good projects out there that are better than it as well. Share the live. Let's go, Scott. Venezuela. Venezuela's opposition leader hails Bitcoin as a lifeline for its people. Maria discussed Bitcoin's role in helping Venezuelans combat essentially hyperinflation and economic collapses in an interview. She is quite brave for coming out in Venezuela as an opposition as well and stating that, you know, people should be headed towards cryptocurrency assets to get away from this hyperinflation situation that this current government has going on inside of Venezuela. Now, Maria discussed essentially the economic challenges faced by Venezuelans in a recent interview with Alex of Human Rights Foundation, published in Bitcoin magazine. They talked about how Bitcoin acts as a financial hedge for citizens under the Chiefs and Maduro regimes. Now, Maria also pointed out that the national currency, the Bolivia, has been hit by inflation, losing 14 zeros since 1999. Imagine your currency, your country's currency has lost 14 zeros, not 4 zeros or 5 or 6 or 7, 14 zeros in valuation since 1999. She described Bitcoin as a lifeline, allowing Venezuelans to bypass government-controlled exchange rates and preserve and recover their wealth. We envision Bitcoin as a part of our national reserves, helping rebuild what the dictatorship stole. Venezuela's economic turmoil, essentially, Maria remarks, came aimed at a widespread economic turmoil where inflation peaked 1.7 million percent. Inflation peaked 1.7 million percent in 2018, crippling the economy despite Venezuela's vast oil reserves. Venezuela is actually, on paper, okay, or behind the scenes, Venezuela behind the scenes, you could even say, is an incredibly wealthy country because of the vast oil that they do have. But their government is abusing their oil, essentially, and selling it and spending it. Well, as their people, well, they've got nothing, genuinely nothing to their names. Bitcoin has emerged as a tool of resistance, providing a way for citizens to protect their savings, and fund their escape from the country. In the aftermath of the Venezuelan presidential election in July 2024, which saw protests against Nicolas Maduro's re-election, the Venezuelan government blocked access to Binance and other online platforms, including X, formerly known as Twitter. Again, human rights, the UN that they claim, the UN is supposed to be standing, because the UN made a speech a few days ago, the UN made a speech about, I shared on this live show as well about human rights, and they stand for this. And, recently they did come out for Telegram's founder, but that's only because they said there might be potential human rights going on. That's only because they also received an open letter multiple times back to back. But the UN was, again, never to be seen because there is no human rights in this world. It's just a big, massive illusion of human rights. On that basis, so the Venezuelan people had a glimpse of hope, even though the same person that runs the government was re-elected once again, and nobody pretty much voted for this man. Now, this man is obviously the perfect person for other governments and countries to control, to exploit Venezuelan oil, where he becomes filthy rich. Other countries become filthy rich, essentially the people that are running the show, and the Venezuelan people pretty much get nothing in return. So when there was just a very, very, very small window of opening, of a glimpse of happiness, where cryptocurrency was the solution for the Venezuelan people, even though they were, burdened by the same man that's controlled them for a very long time and destroyed their currency and destroyed their entire country. This man closed that small window opening where the Venezuelan people were not able to buy cryptocurrencies. So think of it, this, in a very simple way, this absolute bastard, not even joking about this matter, but this absolute bastard of essentially a person that's controlling the Venezuelan people, destroyed their currency, destroyed his country, gave nothing to the people. And then when there was just a small glimpse of an open window for these people to run towards cryptocurrencies, just to get away from everything, he closed that window too. He's pretty much created an actual prison in Venezuela for his people. And also took their freedom of rights away, freedom of speech away, when he blocked them from X. And then he blocked all the cryptocurrency platforms. But you know what's interesting? The Venezuelan, essentially the leader of Venezuela, said that he wants to start using USDT, essentially for payments to get around sanctions, for example. Venezuela wants to use USDT to get around sanctions. So again, it's perfectly fine for Venezuela and the Venezuelan government to use USDT to get around sanctions, but he blocks his own people from buying cryptocurrencies. And he's destroyed their own country's currency. Their people have pretty much nothing going for themselves. He's giving them zero hope. He's abusing his own people pretty much. Binance confirmed the access issue, but assured users their funds were safe. So good for Binance, even though essentially he blocked Binance from anybody buying cryptocurrencies. Whoever did have assets on Binance, Binance said, don't worry, we'll keep your assets safe until you're essentially able to access your account once this lunatic decides to open the doors again. The government also ended using its state-backed cryptocurrency, Petro, aimed at scandals and efficiencies. Fellow opposition figures, Lopez also praised crypto back in 2023, particularly stablecoins and overcoming financial censorship and volatility. Despite Mandra's control over the banking system, Lopez noted that crypto was used to distribute aid to healthcare workers during the pandemic, benefiting 65,000 people. Looking forward, Maria's vision of Bitcoin becoming a part of Venezuela's national reserves, helping rebuild the nation's economy and ensuring financial autonomy as the country recovers from the years of dictatorship from this absolute lunatic. But yeah, we're an absolute bastard. There's no way around it. You destroyed your own country's currency, abused your own people, and then when there was a glimpse of hope, you took that away from them as well. And you also took their freedom of speech away when you blocked X. Now, Ripple. Ripple's legal victory holds until 2026. Why the SEC's appeal may not matter is what we're going to talk about next. But before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. Venezuelans are victims of the US imperialist nature dictating how things work for countries around the globe. No. Okay. Similar how they manipulate democracy. Yes or no? Okay, what Jim has said inside the comment section. So Jim said that Venezuela is a victim of US imperialist nature dictating how things work for countries around the globe. Incorrect. Venezuela is not just being controlled by the US, they're also being controlled by Russia, they're also being controlled by China, they're also being controlled by Iran. Venezuela is actually being controlled by a multitude of countries. So a multitude of countries, essentially of countries, are abusing Venezuela. And the Venezuelan people are mostly being abused because the leaders of Venezuela are getting paid off by Iran, by Russia, by China, by the US, by a multitude of countries. So it's not just one country that's in this issue. It's multiple governments that are abusing the Venezuelan people. So incorrect. Venezuela, if you're going to, bring one down, one government down, bring the rest too, because they're all in the same pot. Venezuela has emptied its jails and told them to leave the country and not to return, similar to what Cuba did in the 70s. And soon they will start giving free money to help people, aka CBDCs. Yep, pretty much. Invest in XRP better than XLM. Is XRP better than XLM? Yes, but XLM is still a great project. There's no way around it. I mean, XRP is a better project in terms of the reach they have. But XLM is still a great project. And I've always ranked XRP number 1, XLM number 2, XDC number 3. So either way you go, it's an amazing art. Now, Ripple. Ripple's victory holds until 2026 is what we're going to talk about next. So why the SEC's appeal may not matter. Now, there's a perspective. Ripple's legal battle with the SEC may essentially remain intact until 2026, with a delayed decision potentially allowing institutional partners to continue using XRP token without significant disruption. Now, Rispoli has pointed out essentially that the trial court's favorable rulings provides an ample protection for Ripple and its partners. Because a lot of people do try to claim inside the crypto space that what Ripple essentially went through, and at the end they had to pay $125 million was a big blow to Ripple. In reality, those people have no idea what they're talking about. It actually wasn't. It was actually quite a positive thing. So he believes, essentially, Fred Rispoli believes that the possibility of the SEC appealing has lessened the sting for the company. As the SEC has turned its focus towards suing exchanges and alleging essentially several tokens as unregistered securities, the pressure on Ripple has seemingly diminished. So the chances of the SEC appealing Ripple, I've said pretty much, is also slim, extremely slim, because I said there's no point for the SEC to appeal anything in the Ripple case because it's just a losing battle for the SEC. Genuinely a losing battle. The SEC lost everything inside the Ripple versus SEC case, pretty much everything. And knowing the SEC and knowing how much of a tantrum the Gary Gensler throws around, like a child, pretty much, as I explained before, he should have said day one that he's going to be appealing something, or a week in, he's going to be appealing something. Knowing Gary Gensler, we're pretty much towards the end, and it's pretty much done for. And the part also, just to point out, the very part of the case that Gary Gensler really wants to appeal, by law, he can't. which is the verdict on the XRP token. As the SEC has turned their focus towards suing exchanges and a multitude of other cryptocurrencies, pretty much XRP is not on their list anymore. So Fred Rispoli emphasized that if Ripple or XRP face difficulties moving forward, it would not be because of the SEC case. SEC's appeal decision still unclear. While Rispoli seems confident in Ripple's current standings, another legal expert, Jeremy Hogan, notes that the SEC has yet to officially decide whether it will appeal the ruling. Now, Jeremy Hogan, giving out his own perspectives, he estimates that there's a 60% chance of the SEC appealing, though he acknowledges that any appeal could backfire on the SEC. He argues that the SEC operates differently than most litigations, essentially making its actions somewhat unpredictable. Institutional partners unaffected by the appeal. So let's just say on the off chance by 1 to a billion, the SEC actually decides to, give this one more go. One of the key points raised by essentially Rispoli is that the security provided by the current court ruling was essentially, which has granted plenty of cover for Ripple's institutional partners. This protection allows these companies to continue their use of XRP, which means, in other words, even if the SEC or Gary Gensler, just by 1 to a billion chance, decide, just give this one more go, let's just appeal one part of the case, will this affect essentially their operations? No, not even by 1%. It's not going to be affecting Ripple's operations anymore, because the parts that they, do want to appeal for and can affect Ripple's operations, they can't appeal them. So the SEC can only essentially appeal useless parts of the case, which doesn't benefit them. So there's no point in even appealing. The appeal process, however, would not alter the status quo until 2026, giving Ripple and its partners a sense of stability in the near term. Rispoli also suggested that the federal legislation may soon override the SEC's lawsuits entirely. As Congress debates new regulatory frameworks for the cryptocurrency sector, the potential for new laws could reshape the landscape before the SEC case reaches a conclusion. Ultimately, Ripple's legal victory remains intact, and even if the SEC appeals the rulings, essentially will likely hold on until at least 2026. The current legal environment, coupled with possible federal legislations, positions Ripple favorably for the foreseeable future, which it definitely does, by 1 billion %. So, as I said previously, there's pretty much no point for the SEC to appeal anything. So the SEC is going to be receiving that $125 million after that 30-day period is done. The second 30-day period is done. Ripple moves forward. None of their companies are affected. Their partnerships aren't affected. Their contracts are not affected. Even if the SEC tries to appeal a useless part of the case, their contracts are not affected, neither the partnerships nor progress. Now, Donald Trump is what we're going to talk about next. Donald Trump wants to make Elon Musk head of Government Efficiency Commission. Before we go through that news, let's go to the comment section first. Let's see where we are inside the comment section. What is suitable amount of XRP to hold long term, whatever your budget is? Thanks, Mikhail. No problem, anytime. Don't you think this will take years to put in place with XRP, XM, etc.? Do I think it will take? It's a great question, Kirat. I'll tell you right now. So Kirat's question is, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. If I'm not, apologies. So Kirat asked, don't you think this will take years to put in place with XRP, X11, etc.? Okay, you've got to look at it from this perspective of the idea of blockchain, CBDCs, and all of this technology isn't coincidental. It wasn't introduced coincidentally to the world. It wasn't by accident to the world either. The Bank of International Settlements, because a lot of people assume this blockchain technology is this new technology, governments and companies have just stumbled upon. Some, yes. Some companies, yes. Governments, not really, no. The Bank of International Settlements, the banks of all centralized banks, 63 centralized banks are under the Bank of International Settlements, including G20 and G7 countries. The Bank of International Settlements has a public PDF documentation titled, essentially, eCash 1 and eCash 2. Where they discussed matters of blockchain technology back in 1999. the concept of blockchain technology, the concept of payments, digital payments on that matter of eCash1, eCash2, which is now being used in today's world, essentially. So fast forward to today. So the concept of this blockchain technology wasn't coincidental. It wasn't just comes out of the blue and it's going to take years or 10 years or decades to be implemented. It was something that was thought and essentially, did some study testing around 1999 on eCash1, eCash2. Bank of International Settlements, PDF documentation. Now, fast forward just a little bit more. We go into COVID. That's the start of a CBDC world and a blockchain world. COVID happened on purpose. Mainly it was a two birds, one stone type of scenario where everybody had to move away from cash because we got to a stage where now everybody needs to move away from cash. But they had to cause some sort of, a pandemic situation that will make people move away from cash. So they could force people without them knowing, essentially consciously, that they're going towards digital payments because there was a massive, essentially, wave of people going from cash to essentially online payments and bank and mobile payments like Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay, and so on. Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay had a massive growth around COVID times because a lot of people didn't want to use cash. Why? Because cash carries germs, apparently, which up to a certain extent it does. Cash does carry germs, but they needed that to happen, essentially. So on that basis, if you also look at the World Bank, so COVID times, exactly COVID times, the World Bank did blockchain testing. World Bank does blockchain testing and it was successful. And then straight after, in the same year, we have COVID. World Bank does blockchain testings, successful. Straight away, we have COVID. Everybody moves away from cash. And then there was a massive wave of everybody going towards cryptocurrencies. So people were getting used to essentially cryptocurrencies, essentially sending wallet-to-wallet transactions, being able to use cryptocurrencies on a daily basis, getting used to the idea of researching about, understanding it, studying it, and so on. So the majority of people move towards digital payments, in other words. And then you fast forward a little bit more, and then we have the Russian, essentially Ukraine war, which was a massive distraction, two birds, one stone again, massive distraction, but also prices rise and people, there's a split between them. During that time, they started telling people, the governments started telling people, crypto is bad, move away from cryptocurrencies, it's scammers, there's pyramid schemes, and so on, which made people do what? The retail section, run towards crypto even more. People ran headfirst into cryptocurrencies due to essentially the government telling people crypto is bad. Because if the government tells you, because the government wanted you to go into essentially cryptocurrencies, believe it or not, this was all planned for you to go towards cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. And I'll tell you why, of what the end result is. But they couldn't tell you. The governments couldn't come out and say, crypto is good, go towards crypto. Do you know why? Because nobody will run towards it. Nobody will trust the government. Nobody does. And it's a fair point to not trust them. So they had to tell you, come on the news, and they will come and say, crypto's bad, crypto's this, crypto's that, and people will run towards crypto even more. It's just basic reverse psychology. The end result of all of this, making people go from cash on purpose to Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, Google Pay. By the way, Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, Google Pay is now doing CBDC testing with the Bank of India as their first trial. And then they're going to do CBDC payments with the rest of the central banks around the world. And who is, Bank of India is also part of the Bank of International Settlements. This is all a plan. But the end goal of making people, without them knowing this, moving away from cash was the end goal is just CBDCs. The end goal, 98% of centralized banks are in CBDCs. 98% of banks, according to the Bank of International Settlements. Again, all of this is public information. The 98% of centralized banks are essentially in CBDCs, which means, look, the end goal of all of this is CBDCs. They wanted you to move away from cash, which they achieved that with COVID. They made you go towards cryptocurrency because they told you cryptocurrencies were bad. Now, obviously, cryptocurrencies do give you a layer of freedom, without a doubt. CBDCs pretty much takes that away from you. So they got people used to it, they moved people away from cash. And at the same time, if you realize that during this time, COVID times, World Bank does testings on blockchain, essentially, we're moving away from cash, people are going towards crypto, crypto, and essentially mobile payments and so on. At the same time, during COVID, banks were closing down one by one. We still have some open, but bank branches were closing down one by one. There's a reason why World Bank does testings on blockchain payments, successful. COVID happens. Everybody moves away from cash. The majority of people move away from cash. At the same time, during COVID, all of this was happening. Banks are closing down. The majority of banks closed down. The majority of cash points closed down. The majority of places don't accept cash during COVID. And a little bit past COVID, same scenario. All of this was just essentially to get you into crypto. Crypto wasn't coincidental. It's not something that we've just stumbled upon now and we're starting to implement it. No, behind the scenes, there was a lot of process happening to make people shift towards cryptocurrencies. So now, moving on to your question of, I just want to give you a backstory of none of this is new and all this was planned a very, very long time ago, started in 1999. Now, to put in the process of, well, based on your question of, well, wouldn't this take, don't you think this will take years on XRP and XLM, etc.? No, because they were planning since 1999. The documentations are there. Not for XRP and XLM, but the blockchain technology is there. Now, for the XRP and XLM and so on. Brazil, for example, this year, we have India in CBDCs. We have China in CBDCs. China was CBDCs last year, but we have essentially India in CBDCs. Next year, we're going to have the EU coming out with their CBDC. We're going to have Brazil coming out with their CBDC, Russia coming out with their CBDC. Now, by the way, these countries, essentially Russia, India, Brazil, Hong Kong, all of the majority of countries around the world, all the continent of the EU, told everyone what? That they're coming out with CBDCs in 2030 was their original date. I said to everyone that they're lying. They're lying to you. It's not coming out in 2030. It's a lot more faster because the financial system that we have now is completely ruined. And who isn't to say that they're going to ruin the next financial system we do have as well, which most likely they will do over time. They're going to ruin CBDCs. You know, they're going to print too many CBDCs later on and so on. The same thing will process because these people are greedy. That's all they are. But the current financial system we have is completely ruined. And also they want to bring a layer of control into the matter as well, where they can, you know, control everybody and everything they do. So on that matter of, do I think it's going to be, you know, long time for them to be implemented? No, because the majority of countries are already in CBDCs. They're either in research stage, testing stage, implementation testing stage, or releasing next year. All of this was in preparation since 1999 until now. So don't look as cryptocurrencies have just come onto the scene for, you know, from 2009 until now. No, they haven't. And you think what 2008 is? Well, you think essentially the 2008 market crisis that happened took down the entire stock market with it, and then somehow we have Bitcoin come out around the corner, which makes everybody slowly go, what is this cryptocurrency? And then COVID happens, where the World Bank was doing testings and everybody moves to cryptocurrencies and online payments and mobile payments, which coincidentally those mobile payments are now doing CBDC testings with the Bank of India. Nothing is coincidental in this world. Not a single major thing. If a major event happens, it's not by accident, but some people just know how to play their roles very well to make it look like, oh, this is a surprise. What is this technology? Even though they knew. So do I think that XRP, XLM, and financial system is going to take too long? Hell no. They said 2030 they're going to come up with CBDCs. And then they changed that deadline to 2029, 2028, 2027, 2026, 2025 now. CBDCs are coming out. But when they first originally told you, 2030. And then they also tell you that you can use cash alongside CBDCs, which is also a big lie. Because since COVID, how many banks have closed down around the world? Since COVID, how many cash points have closed down around the world? Since COVID, how many places don't accept cash anymore? We don't even have CBDCs yet. And cash usage is pretty much down. Cash acceptance is also down from businesses. And banks, but some branches are nowhere to be seen, or cash points are nowhere to be seen. And we're not even in CBDCs yet. This is all the progress they're doing to get to where they want to be. All of this was in plans and works years before COVID even happened, years before, you know, you, me, or essentially discussing about this matter of cryptocurrencies and so on. None of this is new. The technology is new, yes, but the implementation of progress on the roadmap isn't new. A lot of things was happening behind the scenes, which, by the way, all of these behind the scenes are public documentations, which nobody ever bothers reading. Now, knowing that the end result is going to be CBDCs, here's your positive. Knowing that the end result is going to be CBDCs, of this entire plan, of the Bank of International Settlements, the World Economic Forum, the International Monetary Fund, knowing that the end goal is pretty much CBDCs. There are 24,000 crypto projects, as I said previously, 24,000 crypto projects, and only one is, since day one in CBDCs, has a CBDC platform, has won multiple CBDC awards, is with the Bank of International Settlements, with the International Monetary Fund, with essentially the World Economic Forum, done multiple speeches, and that is essentially is Ripple and XRP. There's a public documentation titled Cross-Border Payments. On that list, it says Swift and Ripple's there as well, from the Bank of International Settlements. 98% of centralized banks are in CBDCs, according to the Bank of International Settlements, and there is one crypto project since day one that has an active 24,000 crypto projects, only one of them has an active CBDC platform, has won multiple CBDC awards, is with the Bank of International Settlements, with the International Monetary Fund, has more contracts, more money transfer licensings in place than any other crypto project on this planet. And yet people still did, essentially, yet people doubt it, which those people will end up on CBDCs, and people who are holding XRP will benefit from the morons holding CBDCs. So yet it just comes down to two simple things. Do you want to be on CBDCs, or do you want to be profiting from CBDCs? Because either way, CBDCs are happening. No matter which president is chosen, no matter which essentially prime minister is chosen around the world, CBDCs are happening. 1 billion% they're happening. No matter who protests, no matter which president, no matter which politician, no matter who stands in front of CBDCs, it's a losing battle. So, do you want to profit from CBDCs, or do you want to be stuck on CBDCs? The answer should be profit from CBDCs. And the subject of we're going to be that far away, not really. We're not that far away. Brazil's coming out with CBDCs next year. That's also part of the Bank of International Settlements. We just need cross-border payments to be happening, not just domestically, but internationally in terms of payments. Now, for payments to be happening, for cross-border payments to be happening internationally, yes, it's a positive that XRP has essentially a legal category to put inside of now. But what you need to understand, though, is one thing that I've said since day one: XRP needs 3 green lights. I said the first green light XRP needs is the case. The second green light XRP needs essentially is rules and regulations. Due to the market demographic that XRP wants to operate in, which is banks and institutions need regulations for a safety net to be able to operate payments, because they don't want to fall in the gray areas where they get sued by the SEC or CFTC later on. So the second green light for XRP has pretty much been regulations. The third green light is adoption. We've got the first green light out of the way. Regulations, we have more regulations in 2024 than ever before. We have more banks and institutions in 2024 operational in the crypto space than ever before. 2024 was the start of the world shifting completely into a digital era. We're not that far off from anything. Yes, the cash bill society are out. It's just a time when we don't have it. Banks want to save money. The more CBDCs they print, the higher XRP goes, right? Pretty much, yeah. India street food already taking digital payments. Miles is spitting facts. Let's go, Messi. Breaking, leader of Venezuela opposition Maria proposes using Bitcoin as national reserve currency. Yep, that's true. I revealed that at the beginning of the live show. Even Miles and CMF peeps sample. Let's go. How you do it? My budget is $25,000. Would you put all that into XRP diversify? Completely up to you. Diversification would be good. DigiCash 1982. That's also true as well. Miles swing facts. Let's go. Indian street food is already taking digital payments. The more CBDCs they print, the higher XRP goes, right? Yep. You said that about last year. CBDCs. Yes, I did. Facts. Yes, the cash flow societies are out at a time when we don't have it. Banks want to save money. Yes, that's true as well. Those not spell check. Yep. Issue. There is nothing stopping a better version of XRP or XLM coming out in the future. Okay. Another great question. Kirat says that there is an issue that nothing is stopping a better version of XRP or XLM coming out in the future. Yes, it's going to be too late by then. Very too late by then. What you need to understand is another question that people always ask is, why would banks use XRP, for example? Why would any bank use XRP? Why would any centralized bank use XRP? Why don't banks just create their own blockchain, which is what most people say? Because the people that ask questions like, for example, not to be rude to anybody that does ask questions, you always ask questions, but some people ask weird questions in terms of, because they don't understand how one market space operates, which is the corporate section. The corporate section love the idea of maximizing profits while bringing costs down. That's what essentially corporations love doing. They like the idea of maximizing profits while bringing the costs down, no matter what it takes. Sometimes they even operate in gray areas to maximize profits and bring the costs down. So here's the thing. Why would a bank or a massive corporation build an entire blockchain when they can use one for free? Why would you build something that already exists? Why would you spend millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars hiring new staff members, going into research mode for years upon years to develop something that already exists when you can use it for free? Hence why JP Morgan, for example, decided to build their Onyx chain on Ethereum, for example. JP Morgan could have built their own blockchain as well. But why didn't JP Morgan build their own blockchain? Why did they use Ethereum to build Onyx chain? Onyx coin, for example. Because there is no point for any bank or any corporation to build something that already exists. Corporations operate on the method of maximizing profits while bringing down the costs. But if you decide to build their own blockchain, which is something that already exists, they were just increasing their costs, hoping for profits later on. That's not how a business essentially operates. Businesses don't like to take high risks. Traders love the idea of taking high risks. Massive corporations don't like the idea of high risk. Do you know why? Because that means they will tumble down if it goes sideways. So on the matter of, something else will come along and they can just build on that. Incorrect. Because what already exists is functional, and what already exists is already being updated. People just have this ideology in their heads that XRP, XLM, XDC, they're old technology. It's never going to be used. It's old technology. People don't understand that XRP, XLM, XDC, since the day they were created until now, have been regularly updated. Just recently, Ripple did an update on their XRP ledger testnet, but the network was down for 15 minutes. So don't assume just because it came out a very long time ago, they just left it in the cupboard and it's dusting. No, they're still working on it. They're still updating it pretty much regularly to maintain it, to make it better than it was day one. They haven't just created it, let it out into the market space and said, well, there it is. No, they're updating it. It's a technology. It's a piece of tech that's been regularly updated and maintained to be better than it was day one. But also has more contracts in place than essentially any other bank or institution. And the idea of anything coming that's faster or cheaper than XRP might be like, because some people say, well, this is faster and cheaper than XRP. So banks and institutions would rather use that because it's faster and cheaper than XRP. No, it's got nothing to do with that. Yes, faster and cheaper is good. But here's the thing to, Ethereum, for example, slow and expensive. No, Ethereum, slow and expensive. Yet there are more contracts on place on that Ethereum than there is on a very fast, essentially, crypto project. Like, for example, CAS, CAS, good ecosystem, good community, great project, fast, cheap, reliable. Ultimately, a better option than Ethereum. However, companies are not going to drop everything they have and go and build on something else. Because they already have contracts in place. They already spent money, time, and resources and developments. They spent years and years developing. They're not going to just drop something because another crypto project comes out and is 1 second faster. They couldn't care less. Because all of these crypto projects that are coming out and they're going, this is 2 seconds faster than XRP at processing transactions. Nobody cares. Not a single corporation goes, ooh, let's forget about the 5-year contract we've had with Ripple, building and developing and spending millions of dollars for 5 years. No. Let's forget about all of that. Let's go to this crypto project because it's 2 seconds faster. Nobody cares. Ethereum's slow and expensive and it's still being heavily used. Solana can't process transactions and it's still being heavily used. So get this ideology out of your head of this is old tech and this is new tech, which means it's better. No. Blockchain in general is still new to the market space, in a sense. But don't think to yourself, Ripple and XRP, XLM, XDC, they just released this tech into the market space and now it's dusting away in the cupboard and they're never updating it. No, they're updating it regularly to maintain it, to make it better than it was day one. And just because something else comes along that is new, they couldn't care less. Corporations couldn't care less. You think JP Morgan couldn't use something better than Ethereum JP Morgan could have used anything they wanted, but they chose a slow and expensive chain to build on, which goes against the argument of this crypto project is faster and cheaper, that's why it's better. No. So get it out of your heads, this ideology of this is old, XRP is old chain, this new crypto project is new chain. It's got nothing to do with that. A successful crypto project relies on 3 bullet points. First bullet point, what is it trying to create? Second bullet point, who is it working with? And third bullet point, is it going to be here in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years time? Because all that matters is who's it working with, what contracts does it have? Is it working with IBM? Is it working with Standard Chartered Bank? Is it working with Wells Fargo? Things that matter. But crypto projects nowadays, they come out of the woodworks and they go, this crypto project is doing tokenization. This crypto project comes out, we're doing tokenization with 3 seconds faster processing transactions and so on. Nobody cares. Do you know who care? Retail section. Retail section will look at that and go, ooh, that's nice. There's faster and processing transactions. They're going to do tokenization, but they have 0 contracts and 0 money transfer licensings in place, which means they're going to achieve jack squat. And they're going to go and join the rest of the crypto graveyard projects. Genuinely, you want to know if you have a successful crypto project in your hands? 3 things matter. 1, what is it building? 2, who is it working with? 3, is it going to be here in 5 years, 10 years time? That's all that matters. If it has no partnerships, if it has no contracts in place and no money transfer licensings, depending on what type of project it is, if it's finance related, it's useless. Contracts and licensings, that's all that matters. If it has contracts and licensings, it's worth a look into. If it doesn't have any of those 2s and it's just claiming it's going to do tokenization and faster processing transactions, nobody cares. Not a single institution cares, which is where the money is. Retail section care, but retail section money is flimsy. It enters a crypto project and it escapes it for 6 months later. Corporations buy crypto projects and hold it for 5 years time, 10 years time. Hence why, people were expecting Bitcoin to go down to $10,000. Remember that time period where people were saying Bitcoin is going to go down to $10,000, Bitcoin is going to go down to $15,000. I said, no, it's not. Guess who was right? Me. You know why I was right? Because I know how they operate. I know how corporations operate because I'm from the corporate sector. Because corporations don't buy, for example, an asset like Bitcoin and sell it 6 months later down the line, all of it. They buy it and keep it 5 years time, 10 years time, 20 years time. Hence why we didn't see a massive dip of $10,000 Bitcoins, because there are so many corporations in play and they're not going to be dumping their entire bags unless it's a manipulation type of stage. But corporations don't sell. And because corporations don't sell, not in the sense they don't ever sell, they sell millions of dollars, but not dropping their entire bag. Because they don't sell like that, we never saw those $10,000 and $15,000 Bitcoins that the majority of the crypto space was expecting. And I said, it's never going to happen. Why? Because look at the corporates. Look at who's holding it. They're not going to be selling it. If you understand how the corporates operate, you'll be better off. They have all the money. And they always tell you, in any market space, follow the money. And also remember one thing. Money is not made overnight. Money is made over time. Something that corporates understand. That's why corporations look at 5-year projections and 10-year projections. And they don't look at for tomorrow's projection when they invest into something. Money is not made overnight. It's made over time. And because they operate like that, hence why you never saw $10,000 Bitcoins. Share the live, let's go. Okay, thanks for your response. No problem, Kirat, anytime. If the road ahead is clear, use it. Facts. Let's go, Ian. Does ACH have any rival coins in their field? And if so, could they prevent ACH's future success? Yes, the competitors to ACH is, XDC, XLM, XRP is quite a competitive list. But they can still be utilized in different methods. In startup, they said it does not matter if you are best. It only matters if you're first. which is facts. Startup is a TV show I think everybody should go and watch. It came out in 2016. It's the main core topic of Startup, the TV show, is about cryptocurrencies, and it came out in 2006. It was well ahead of its time. And but yeah, it's true. It's not about who came second or third. It's about who came first. Everybody cares about who's first. Hence why my company, my startup company, blockchain company, is called CoinMove.one. That one is for everybody to know we were first of what we're about to achieve. My brother, do you think SEC will appeal? Thank you, Miles. Bugsy, if they do appeal, there's a very slim chance it's going to be approved in any sort of a way. It's just more of a time waster for the SEC. In reality, they shouldn't appeal in any sort of a way, because the part of the case they want to appeal, they can never appeal it. I used the video libraries VHSs was not as good as Betamax, although VHS won the race. Therefore, if something comes through later that's better, it may still not get traction and be adopted. True. That guy who invented XLM knows Elon Musk. Can Elon Musk help him to put value on XLM? He can, but not in terms of money value, but shout out value. Yeah. Miles, could corporate institutions sell their Bitcoin and buy back at a much more lower price? They can, but it has to be a very, very tactical type of scenario where the majority of corporations are on the same page, and the chances of the majority of corporations, all of them at once, being on the same page, it's a very slim chance. There will always be somebody backstabbing somebody else. Miles, thoughts reduce my crypto portfolio to XRP, XLM, XDC, ACH, HBO, Algo, Adder. Great. What is your opinion on Doge and Shiba? It's all right to have a little bit of a fun section if you want inside your crypto space, inside your market, inside your wallet. If you want to have that, if you want to have those Doge or Shiba, go for it. Just a side kind of situation, but the core of your essentially portfolio being finance projects, excellent. Dump, yeah. Regarding those corporations, the chances of them doing a coordinated dump, very slim chance. Because corporations do tend to follow each other, but they also tend to backstab each other. So the chance of them being on the same page, very slim. Donald Trump. Donald Trump wants to make Elon Musk head of Government Efficiency Commission. Donald Trump said today that if he is elected, plans to create a special commission tasked with essentially auditing government institutions. The new organizations will be headed by no other but billionaire support Elon Musk. Elon Musk will essentially audit the US government. And essentially what was the first brought up as a suggestion in the conversation between Donald Trump and Elon Musk on an earlier X on August 12th may be coming to fruition if the Republican candidate wins the election. Today, Trump said that he would establish a government efficiency commission that would be headed by Tesla's boss, Elon Musk. People familiar with the matter have reported that returners, that the former president has not taken this idea lightly and has been discussing it for weeks. Today, however, during his speech, the New York Economic Club was the first time he had publicly endorsed it. I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of an entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reform, he said. Cutting corporate taxes. The United States currently imposes a tax on the profits of U.S. resident corporations. The rate is at 21%, which is reduced from 35% in 2017 by the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Now, Donald Trump says that he will further reduce the corporate tax and make it 15%. However, it's important to note that this would only apply to companies that are manufacturing domestically, which is great for them to be saying this. Regarding Donald Trump reducing taxes for companies inside the United States that are producing domestically, great. Now, a lot of people are not happy about the scenario of Donald Trump, one, essentially selecting Elon Musk to run the show with him. And then two, some people aren't happy that Donald Trump is reducing taxes for corporations. Okay, what you got to understand, for people that are not happy with this matter, reducing taxes for corporations, what you need to understand is corporates are not your enemy. In a sense, depends on the corporation. But in a sense, corporations are not really your enemy. They're the ones that basically provide people jobs. So if a corporation is doing well, that means they can hire new people. That means they can pay people wages, which means those people can later on use those wages for groceries, to pay their rent, to pay their mortgage, to pay their loans, and so on. That's just how a country functions. Now, if you, in sense of Kamala Harris, who wants to increase taxes for corporations and so on, That will just burden corporations to start firing people. If corporations are going to be paying high taxes, they're going to start firing people, which means a lot of people will lose their jobs, which means those people that were originally being able to buy groceries and pay their rent and pay their mortgages no longer can because they have no job, because the taxes were increased and the corporations want to do layoffs. So you've got to understand, when they reduce taxes, that means corporations can operate healthier. And when they can operate healthier, that means they can hire more people for more jobs. But if they're paying heavy duty taxes, they're going to do layoffs. It's just how it makes sense. Or they're going to move outside the country. And if they do that, everybody loses their job. So next time somebody goes, like, for example, Kamala Harris, we're going to start taxing the rich. We're going to start taxing the corporations. If you start doing that, some corporations just leave the United States, which means the entire company, whoever's working there, will lose their jobs. Or people will start doing, corporations start doing layoffs in departments, which means more people still lose their jobs. Higher taxes means no jobs. Lower taxes for corporations means more jobs, or essentially more bonuses for people, or increase on wages for people, because corporations, can operate now. But if you're going to tax them heavily, then they just move outside the States, because they can operate in another country much more cheaply. So Kamala is thinking about increasing the taxes, and everybody's cheering, yes, corporations need to pay their taxes. Yes, everybody should pay their taxes. But what you need to understand is increasing taxes lowers jobs. When it lowers jobs, more people go on benefits. But Trump wants to decrease the taxes, which means more jobs will be created. Because some people will look at that and go, why is Trump lowering the taxes for the corporations? He's trying to help the corporations. Yes, but he's also trying to help you, but you just can't see it. Now, but regarding Elon Musk and Trump coming together, if Elon Musk approves it, amazing. If Elon Musk accepts, essentially working alongside Trump, that is one unstoppable United States government. You have an incredibly transparent man, Trump. He just says it how it is. And then you have an incredibly intelligent man, Elon Musk. Who's going to mess with the US? Because now the US is, once again, powerful and intelligent. It'll just be a super house. Nobody can essentially, let's see if that happens, though. It'd be good for the US to happen. Just out of curiosity, in the comment section, get involved, everyone, and say, Elon Musk and Trump, good or bad? Elon Musk and Trump as the leader of the United States, good or bad? So Elon Musk and Trump being essentially controlling, being in control of the United States, is that good or bad? Miles, during COVID period, Trump's administration, many large corporations got government loans and were able to convert the grants if they kept their employees at least until October 31st, 2020. A week before the elections, corporations got government handouts and the American citizens got pink slips. Also, those loans added greatly to the American debt. What is your opinion on that? It's a great question, Scott. What do I think my opinion is on the matter of a week before the elections, corporations got government handouts and the American citizens got pink slips? Although those loans added greatly to the American debt, what is your opinion? Anything is going to get added to the American debt, to be fairly honest. I'll give you a similar scenario. The UK. The UK was handing out essentially COVID money as well, where anybody could apply it. If you had a company, you could apply it up to £50,000 from the UK government for your business during COVID times. So what I am trying to say is everybody abused it. Trump decided to introduce an idea of corporations to keep their doors open. For corporations to be able to keep their doors open, Trump introduced an idea, which then some corporations abused that scenario which is why I said, in a sense, corporations are your friends, in a sense. But some corporations had to abuse that sense, and that added to the national debt. It's not Trump's fault. Trump introduced an idea that can keep essentially corporations' doors open. Now, if somebody wants to abuse that, you can't blame. It's like somebody essentially telling the founder of Telegram is your fault if somebody is doing illicit activities on Telegram. It's not the founder of Telegram's fault if Telegram's founder introduced a social platform for people to use. Now, if somebody wants to abuse that social platform, it's not the Telegram founder's fault. It's the person that's at fault. So if some corporations are going to abuse that scenario, then again, it's not Trump's fault. He introduced an idea to keep corporations open. The same thing was introduced in the UK. The UK government introduced an idea to keep essentially corporations open so they don't go bust, so people don't lose their jobs after COVID. And some companies decided to abuse their power and get more loans than they ever needed. Some people decided to, open up companies overnight in the UK and borrow £50,000. So the law was good because it kept the doors open. It means that that company was able to keep its doors open even after COVID, so people still had a job after COVID. It's just some people decided to abuse that. That's what I would say to that. I have heard a lot over time about the US needs to do. What about the other countries? Oh, I mean, the UK needs a lot of help too. Every country needs a lot of help, but it's never going to come. Let's just be honest. I'll be honest, at least the US has a glimpse of hope. Everywhere else around the world, there's no hope. Good. Stormy says, Scott, awful. Ian, good. Mike, good. The American is my concern. Good. I think good, but I can't see it happen if they really are against CBDCs. Yeah, they're not against CBDCs. Good can't be any worse than Biden and Harris. Fair enough. Ian, what is the retail market? Retail section. Mike, Mikhail, you're part of the retail section. Everybody is. It would be great, but I'm not sure if Elon would go for it. Fantastic. I need a tea. America's debt is my concern. Never did I think those corporations were going to help the American citizens. So only Trump can have an idea that goes astray and the user's fault. I am only asking because we have to be fair and give the same benefit of a doubt. Yep, I'll be fair. If anybody else, I give you a fair example. I said the UK introduced a similar law. The UK introduced a similar law of the same law that you had inside the United States for the COVID situation of giving out loans is a similar law we had in the UK where businesses were able to get loans the same way the US was able to get loans during COVID. And the UK corporations abused it as well. And people were abusing that loan essentially scheme as well. The idea was good. Even when the UK government introduced it, the idea was good. And even that money was added to the UK debt as well. It's just people abused it. So I'm not saying I'm taking favorite sides because it was Trump. I give you the explanation that we had the same thing in the UK. And the UK government prime minister, nobody likes him. Nobody liked the UK government prime minister that was in during COVID. Nobody liked that man. Be fairly honest, nobody liked that person. But he had a good idea to keep doors open, the lights on in corporations, but people just abused it. So I'm not taking sides in any sort of a way at all, because it was Trump in that matter. But we had the same scenario over here. And that money was also added to the debt as well. And nobody likes the UK president. But I can still say, even though I didn't like him either, I can still say he had a good idea. So I'm not taking sides. The policy was good. It's just people always abuse the policy. He's right. I do not want my crypto plan for my family to be affected by Kamala Harris. Trump and Elon, my thoughts is something very powerful. The name Elon means son. I love my family, but I must be the only centrist in the group. Scott, we love you too, brother. I pay so much tax in this country, though. both Democrat and Republican administrations have to do tax reductions. I agree, definitely. I have a great idea. No, no one pay tax. I agree with that as well. I agree 100% regarding tax. I mean, tax is essentially, that you making money from peasants is what tax is. I'm not even joking. And in this equation of peasants, we're all in that category, including me. So everybody's a peasant to them, basically. So it's basically taxing peasants. Thanks for explaining, Miles. No problem, Scott. Anytime. Now, Sui. Sui Play is what's been introduced in South Korea's blockchain week. Sui Play 0x1. Did you ever want to have, for example, anybody remember PSP? This is years back. I mean, the new generation wouldn't know what a PSP is. But the PlayStation Portable, essentially, a handheld gaming device where it has a screen and you can play along and so on. So Sui Play 0x1 has just been introduced. The Sui gaming handheld now accepting pre-orders. If you're the type of person that's inside the crypto space and you love the idea of gaming projects, well, this could be something for you. So following hints basically earlier this year, the first handheld Web3 gaming device takes the stage during Korea Blockchain Week. Sui Play 0x1, with a native support for Sui games, along with Steam and Epic game libraries, ushers in a new era of gaming, combining the excitement of AAA gameplay, a new feature around digital assets enabled by blockchain technology. And better yet, Sui Play 0x1 lets gamers play whenever they happen to be, wherever they happen to be. Ready Sui Play is what basically is. Sui, with its scalable network and industry-leading transaction speeds, realizes the promise of Web3 gaming, where players gain a highly personalized experience through their own digital assets. Rather than gaming makers needing to build in-game markets, Sui natively supports tradable assets with a high degree of customizations available. Unlike other blockchains, Sui object data structure supports in-game items that players can easily essentially personalize and swap. Sui native features such as ZK login mean that players don't need any knowledge of Web3 to set up an account and start playing. No other blockchain supports Web3 gaming like Sui. Sui in your hands. Sui Play 0x1, the first Web3 handheld game device, uses essentially premium hardware, giving gamers both a pleasuring handheld experience as well as high performance. The body includes a 7-inch bezel-less screen, trigger buttons, joystick, USB-C headphone jack, and it's essentially a memory card, extended memory card slot as well. Inside the device, an AMD Ryzen 7 7840U CPU provides the power to run the first games. Dual 6-axis gyroscope captures motions, while an onboard 512 gigabytes SSD provides an ample storage. Sui Play 0x1 runs Playtron OS, a lean operating system designed specially for gaming. As dedicated gaming device players will be able to dive into the latest Sui games and play their first experience of a new paradigm in-game items taking new life and the potential for rewards. In addition, players will have their Steam and Epic games on hand, giving them the best of all worlds. The combination of a premium device, the industry's most profitable and user-friendly blockchain, and streamlined operating system delivers an unparalleled experience which will transform the mobile gaming industry and bring Web3 to everyone. Reserve yours today. Players can reserve Sui Play 0x1 beginning today for $599. With deliveries expected in 2025, payment can be made using Sui, Sol, or Ethereum. Fiat currencies are not accepted during this early reservation period. Well, that's a first. For something that's pre-order, you can't use US dollars, pounds, or euros, no fiat. For the Sui Play device, you can only use to buy it or reserve it Sui token, Sol token, or ETH token. So if you're a type of person that loves the idea of gaming and Web3 gaming, and you even want to earn some money from gaming inside the crypto space, this SUI device could be something you can look into. For me, it's not really for me in any sort of a way, to be fairly honest. The whole gaming industry, I understand it. And the gaming industry is a massive, I mean, in terms of the money it create, the money in terms of profits is crazy high. So if you are into gaming, look into it. This is called the SUI Play 0x1. If you want to go for it, you can reserve it for $599. Paying for it, you can only use SUI token, Solana token, or Ethereum token. You can't use fiat currencies. But later on, they're going to be building lots of games on it as well. And you're going to be able to make money from the games you play. And it's like a PSP device. It was introduced in blockchain South Korea, where they introduce all these new, interesting, innovative ideas to a panel of people. Now, Dubai is what we're talking about next. I'm going to steal your quote, taxes and peasants. I like that. Let's go, Scott. Dubai now. Dubai increases adoption for cryptocurrencies. Now, I talked about Dubai in terms of cryptocurrencies for salaries about a week ago, where a court battle was happening in Dubai, where essentially an employee was supposed to be paid by cryptocurrencies from the company, but the company decided not to pay the employee in cryptocurrencies because there were no rules and regulations in place. So the employee decided to take the company to court, where a judge in Dubai ruled over that the company should pay the wages to this employee in cryptocurrencies. Even though we don't have regulations in Dubai, you are still liable to pay this employee because you stated you're going to be paying him in cryptocurrencies. So the person got paid out in cryptocurrencies, and it was big news all over Dubai. Salaries being paid in cryptocurrencies, but there was still no regulations in place until now. Dubai increases adoption of cryptocurrencies with salary payment regulations. Regulations on salary payments with cryptocurrencies in Dubai are increasing the adoption of digital assets in the city. Dubai is taking steps towards the use of cryptocurrencies, making it possible for employees to receive their salaries with these new financial tools. This development is attracting the interest of both local and international companies. Bitcoin salary payment regulations. The Dubai government is implementing new regulations for the use of cryptocurrencies and salary payments. These regulations pave the way for companies to pay their employees in cryptocurrencies. Additionally, this step is expected to strengthen the digital economy ecosystem in the city. The new regulations also include rules that companies must follow when paying with cryptocurrencies. These rules aim to protect the rights of both employers and employees. Furthermore, specifying essentially the standards are set to ensure that the secure execution of cryptocurrency payments. Companies' interest and adoption. Many companies view the idea of paying employees with cryptocurrencies positively in Dubai. This can help companies gain an advantage in attracting international talent. Employees are also becoming increasingly willing to receive payments in cryptocurrencies in Dubai. Some firms in Dubai have already started paying salaries with cryptocurrencies. These firms pay their employees with various cryptocurrencies. The new regulations are expected to make this practice more widespread in Dubai. Digital economy and future. These developments in Dubai show that the digital economy in the city is growing rapidly. Salary payments with cryptocurrencies are considered a part of the digital economy. This supports Dubai's goal of becoming a global digital economy hub. By promoting the use of cryptocurrencies, Dubai is also paving the way for new technology-based business models. The widespread use of cryptocurrencies creates new opportunities in the city's business and economic sectors. This development accelerates Dubai's digital transformation process. Salary payments with cryptocurrencies are rapidly spreading trend worldwide. Dubai's innovative steps in this area positively contributes to the city's business world and economy. These initiatives towards the digital economy in Dubai indicates that more innovative steps will be taking place in Dubai in the future. When comparing the current news content with previous reports, it is evident that salary payments of cryptocurrencies are gaining momentum in Dubai. The steps Dubai has taken and passed regarding cryptocurrency regulations are now widely accepted. This shows that the city will continue its vision and innovation in the digital economy field. Massive news in Dubai in terms of actually, first they said it was a judge ruled that it was okay to accept payments of cryptocurrencies for companies to pay their employees in cryptocurrencies because of one man in Dubai who sued that particular company, took him to the courts, and the judge ruled in his favor. Now Dubai is looking into cryptocurrency regulations. It always takes one person to change the course of history. Honestly, it always takes one person to change how everything works. Where this one person sued a company that was supposed to pay him in cryptocurrency wages, and he never got paid, and the judge ruled in his favor. And now everybody in Dubai wants to be paid in cryptocurrencies because of this one man. And the government is also now going to be introducing regulations to make it absolutely legit. Telegram is what we'll talk about next. Telegram's CEO, Pavel, releases a breaking message. Telegram CEO Pavel, who was arrested in France days ago, posted a message on Telegram after his release. Here's the full message. Thank you for everyone. This is what he said. Thank you for everyone for your support and love. After arriving in Paris last month, I was questioned by the police for 4 days. I was told that I could be personally responsible for other people's illegal use of Telegram because the French authorities were not getting any response from Telegram. So this is a very detailed message of what Pavel has just said. Everything that's happened to the founder of Telegram, he's just described it, which is absolutely absurd. Number one, he said, Telegram has an official representative in the EU who accepts and responds to EU requests. The email address was publicly available to anyone in the EU who Googled Telegram EU address for law enforcement. Because France claims that Telegram has no messaging type of scenario for the EU authorities to contact Telegram. But then Pavel, the founder of Telegram, is saying, well, the French authorities are lying because we have especially set up essentially for the EU law enforcement to contact Telegram directly on a 24/7 basis. So that was a lie coming from the French authorities. Number two, the French authorities had many ways to reach me for help. As a French citizen, I was a frequent guest in the French consulate in Dubai. Some time ago, when I personally helped them set up a helpline with Telegram to deal with illicit activities in France. So not only did the EU have a direct, essentially, line with Telegram, France had their own direct line with Telegram. But again, the French authorities are saying, essentially, no, we didn't. But according to the founder of Telegram, they did. Number three, if a country is unhappy with an internet service, the common practice is to take legal action against the service itself. Using pre-smartphone laws to essentially accuse a CEO of crimes committed by third parties on a platform he runs is misguided. Developing technology is hard enough. No innovator would develop new tools if they knew they could be held personally liable for potential misuse of these tools. Striking the right balance between privacy and security isn't easy. You have to recoil privacy laws with law enforcement requirements and local laws with the EU laws. You need to take into account technological limitations. As a platform, you want your process to be globally consistent, but also to be able to avoid abuse in countries with weak rules of law. We are committed to working with regulators to find the right balance. Yes, we stand by our principles. Our experience is informed by our mission to protect our users in authoritarian regimes. But we have always been open dialogue. Sometimes we disagree with a country's regulator on the right balance between privacy and security. In such cases, we are prepared to leave that country. We have done, which is basically what we have done so many times. When Russia demanded that we hand over the encryption keys to enable surveillance, we refused, and Telegram was banned in Russia. When Iran demanded that we block channels belonging to peaceful protesters, we refused, and Telegram was banned in Iran. One absolute legend for letting the Iranian people use their Telegram groups to protest against the government. Absolute legend. We are prepared to leave markets that are not in line with our principles. By the way, if this was Facebook, Facebook would have handed over everybody's private keys and said, yep, no problem. Russia wants private keys? Sure. Iran wants private keys? Sure. There's a big difference to a CEO and a CEO. Because we are not in this for the money, We are motivated by the intention of defending people's fundamental rights and doing good, especially where those rights are being violated. This is not to say that Telegram is perfect. The fact that the authorities can get confused about where to send requests is something we need to improve. However, the claims in the social media that Telegram is some kind of a essentially paradise for criminals are simply not true. We remove millions of harmful posts and channels every day. We publish daily transparency reports. We have direct helplines with the NGOs to essentially process urgent moderation requests faster. But we hear voices saying that that's not enough. Telegram's sudden increase in users to 950 million has caused essentially a growing pains that have made it easier for criminals to abuse our platform. That's why I've made it my personal goal to make sure that we make a significant improvements in this regard. We've already started this process internally, and I'll share more details about our progress very soon. I hope that the events of August will make Telegram and the social networking industry as a whole safer and stronger. Thanks again for your love and humor. So that was essentially from the founder of Telegram. What an absolute legend regarding the founder of Telegram. But everything he said is an extremely valid point. Everything he said. I mean, he said, if you don't want Telegram to operate in your country, let us know and we won't operate in your country. But you can't ask us to essentially hand over people's information. Said basically, we don't hand over people's private keys to you so you can know who they are. Instead, we just won't operate in your country. But for you to arrest me for something that somebody else did that I have no clue of who that person is ridiculous, which it is. How can you be arrested for a crime you never committed or never even knew about? It's ridiculous. But also regarding the French authorities, here's something. Regarding the French authorities who claimed that Telegram had no reach of access, not only did the EU have a reach of access to Telegram, the EU essentially Parliament, France also had a reach of access directly. France had a direct link to Telegram to let them know about anything. Yeah, this was bigger than Telegram. It was two birds, one stone. They wanted to slow down Ton. They wanted to slow down the progress of Ton's ecosystem. It climbed that ladder too quick. Because again, they could have arrested this man for the illicit charges they claimed what was happening a very long time ago. They could have arrested essentially Pavel when Telegram had 100 billion users, 200 billion users, 300 billion users, 500 billion users, 600 million users, 700 million users, 800. Why didn't they arrest them at 800 million users? That's more than enough people. There should be some illicit activities happening. No, they arrested them exactly when essentially Ton, developed by Telegram, goes to number 10 on CMC. Ton goes from bottom of the list of the crypto projects to number 10. Telegram's founder gets arrested. It was two birds, one stone. You've got to understand who's at play right now. I mean, governments are inside the crypto space. Massive corporations are inside the crypto space. And they're not going to let somebody just come up the ladder that quick without taking a piece of the pie. Because they could have arrested this man for the illicit activities they're claiming he did when Telegram had 600 million users, 700 million users, 800 million users. No, but they waited for essentially Ton to reach number 10, developed by Telegram, to go, now we're going to arrest you. It was two birds, one stone. Now, Mark Cuban is what we're going to talk about next. Here's the thing. Mark Cuban said that a while ago that, he said, let's give Kamala Harris a chance. Just want to point this out. Mark Cuban said, let's give Kamala Harris a chance, is what he said a while ago. He's singing a different tune today, Mark Cuban says Kamala Harris will kill the US stock market. So Mark Cuban went from, let's give Kamala a chance, maybe she can do something, incredible, to now stating today, Mark Cuban says Kamala Harris will not just, damage the stock market, no, kill it entirely. Mark Cuban, the billionaire and owner of the Dallas Mavericks, isn't happy with the Vice President Kamala Harris' proposed tax on unrealized capital gains. During an interview today, Mark said that this plan would kill the stock market. You know what I like about Mark? Incredibly intelligent man. Mark Cuban is an incredibly intelligent man. When Mark Cuban said, let's give Kamala a chance, Kamala's actions only affected regular people. At that particular moment in time, Kamala's actions were only going to affect regular folks. Now that Mark's ass is on the line, Mark comes out and goes, no, she's going to kill the stock market because she's proposing a tax on unrealized capital gains. And during the interview today, Mark said this plan would kill the stock market. Kamala wants to introduce a 25% tax on unrealized capital gains for the people worth more than $100 million, which means now Mark is also in the same category that's getting affected by Kamala Harris's decisions. So now he's angry. This means that the government will tax the rich investors based on how much their assets have gone up in value, even though if they haven't sold anything. For Mark, this is a terrible idea. He believes that it would wreak havoc on the markets by forcing investors to sell their assets just to pay their tax bill. Mark explained that if the wealthy individuals are taxed on gains they haven't cashed in yet, they'd have to sell their investments, especially during market dips, to cover the tax bills, which is all true, and it is a terrible idea coming from Kamala Harris. But let's be honest, Kamala Harris has never had a great idea. Companies won't go public, he said. He warned, adding that such a tax would be a major win for private equity firms, as more companies would avoid going public due to the uncertainty and the potential tax implications, which is true. If Kamala Harris introduces such a ridiculous idea, then yes, more companies will decide just not to go public, which means yes, the stock market will pretty much be the end of the stock market because investors won't buy too much. They'll have to keep on selling to pay their taxes, and no company will go public either, which means what's the point of the stock market? And if the stock market goes downhill inside the US, not only will the US people get affected, but we'll have one of the biggest crashes, the 2008 crash. If the stock market pretty much is the end of the stock market, the US stock market, the 2008 crash will look like a pebble compared to what the actual crash is going to come after. If the stock market of what Mark is describing goes down that way, the 2008 crash will seem like a joke compared to this crash is going to be heading our way. Because remember one thing, the Bank of International Settlements and the International Monetary Fund said, if the US markets sneeze, the world market catches a cold, which is factual. Mark also touched on the problem of the market volatility. He mentioned how this tax could hurt investors who might pay taxes on their gains only for the market to drop down afterwards even more. That is said, would leave them in financial disaster. Investors already cautious during downturns would be less likely to back startups and growth-oriented companies under these circumstances, which means that if Kamala is chosen as the next president of the United States, Kamala would ruin the United States will, the US market will just, there is no, the only way I could describe it is like this, in a very simple way. You know, a heart, essentially when you go to a hospital and they attach you to a heart monitor, you know when you go to a hospital and they attach you to a heart monitor and the heart monitor is going up, down, up, down, up, down, and it just flatlines. You know for a fact that that person is never coming back. You know when you're in the hospital and then there's a heart monitor, it's just going up, down, up, down, up, down, and then the heart monitor just flatlines. You know for a fact that person is never coming back. It's done, it's dusted. Same scenario will apply inside the United States. If Kamala is chosen and she introduces these ridiculous ideas, if the stock market goes flatline, the entire United States goes flatline. and it's never coming back. So there's a rosy future for everyone that's thinking about choosing Kamala. It's complicated to put that tax on assets that haven't been sold yet, especially for those that the dollar don't trade publicly. How do you put dollar value on something that's not easily tradable? He also essentially warned about the possibility of wealthy individuals borrowing against their portfolios to avoid selling off assets, creating a cycle of debt that could destabilize the financial system. Kamala's plan has faced pushback from both Republicans and Democrats. Yes, because she's a lunatic. Genuinely, Kamala Harris is an absolute lunatic, where the Democrats and the Republicans are going, well, okay, this was a bit of a stupid idea. Mark isn't all negative about her, though. He's been in communication for a campaign saying that Kamala is willing to listen to feedback from business leaders. Of course she is, Mark. That's why Mark went from, give her a chance, to, okay, maybe she is a bit of a lunatic. He's pointed out that she's not set in her ways and could be open to modifying the tax plan based on discussions with the financial community. He also told us that she actually supports crypto. Kamala has never attended a crypto panel discussion or even talked about cryptocurrencies, but yet everybody around her keeps on claiming she likes crypto, even though she vetoed crypto bills. A Coinbase executive said earlier today that the Harris campaign was accepting crypto donations, but this was incorrect. Turns out it was actually the Future Forward Super PAC, not the campaign itself, and that is accepting crypto contributions. In contrast, Kamala Harris's Republican opponent, Donald Trump, has actively courted crypto donors and essentially promised friendly crypto policies if elected. But yeah, if Kamala is chosen, and she does introduce these particular laws and regulations, if the US stock market flatlines like a heart monitor, it's never coming back. And that will pretty much destroy the wealth of the retail section, the wealthy people. Everybody will be going on to zero. It will just be a massive disaster where the US crashes, and I mean crashes, and somebody else needs to take in charge, which somebody else is probably going to be China. China is waiting for the day that something like this happens to the US. And something like this can only happen with somebody like Kamala in charge. I mean, Biden already destroyed the market as it is. He destroyed Biden destroyed innovation inside the United States. He destroyed the crypto market inside the United States. He destroyed the stock market inside the United States. He created a bigger debt pool than ever was before. And yet people want to give Kamala a chance. I'm telling you right now, if she's chosen and whatever happens next, there's no coming back from it. And somebody else will take the ranks in terms of another country taking the ranks. In fact, Putin did an interview, and Putin said he likes the idea of Kamala becoming president. Not even joking. Putin did an interview, which we're going to go through, and he said he likes the idea of essentially Kamala becoming the next president of the United States. You know why he said that? He didn't say it because he thinks she's smart, she's intelligent, she has great ideas. No, he said that because he also said that in the same interview that Biden was pretty much useless in a sense, and pretty much Russia could do whatever they want. And he said that if Kamala is chosen next, Russia could do whatever they want also again. It's a joke, is what it is. They're taking the US as a joke. Now, here's the thing. So regarding the Putin scenario, I'll tell you right now, Russian Vladimir Putin supports Kamala Harris for US president. Russian Vladimir President Putin shocked many today when he publicly declared his support for Kamala Harris in the upcoming US presidential election. Speaking at the essentially Eastern Economic Forum, Putin said with a smirk, he said, President Joe Biden was our favorite. He was saying it sarcastically. He said President Joe Biden was our favorite. Since he encouraged his people to back Kamala, Russia is doing the same. He even joked about Kamala's laughter, calling it infectious. And he hinted that her being in good spirits might soften the US policies towards Russia. This drew immediate attention, especially given the tension between the two countries right now. The Biden administration recently indicted 2 employees of Russia Today, RT, in a state-funded media outlet for allegedly being part of the disinformation campaign aimed at influencing American voters. Putin's game plan, or just a joke? In a climate where foreign such interferences is a hot-button issue, a nod from Putin might actually hurt Kamala Harris's campaign, making her look like she's cozying up to the Russians, a perception that could alienate voters. No, okay, I'll be honest, because the people that are voting for Kamala, they're blindsided. I'm not even joking. The worst person on this planet who could be, this person could be somebody that is genuinely the worst person on this planet. He's a mercenary, for example, or he does a lot of damage to the world, for example. That person could be supporting Kamala Harris. The Kamala Harris supporters will still go, yeah, we're still voting for her. These people are too brainwashed to even realize Vladimir Putin is happy about Kamala Harris becoming the next president of the United States. These people are too brainwashed to realize it. So on the matter of Kamala Harris' campaign might be damaged due to Vladimir Putin, these people couldn't care less. The people that are voting for Kamala Harris are too blindsided by the matter to even care. They couldn't care who was supporting they couldn't care who was supporting Kamala Harris. Iran could come out and say, we support Kamala Harris. And people will go, yes, we also support Kamala. North Korea could come out and go, that lunatic Kim Jong-un could come out and say, I'm supporting Kamala Harris. The Kamala Harris supporters will start promoting that news and go, oh, Kamala, Kim Jong-un is also supporting Kamala Harris. This is great news, is what they would say, the Kamala Harris supporters. Honestly, the biggest lunatic in this world can support Kamala Harris, and the voters for Kamala Harris will still go, oh, this is great. Even this person is supporting Kamala Harris. So no, I don't think Putin is actually coming out and saying, this about Kamala Harris is going to make people sway away from. No, her voters are too brainwashed and gone to realize anything that's happening around them. On the other hand, Putin's unpredictable behavior could be his way of keeping everyone guessing, especially those who might assume he'd favor Trump due to their past interactions. Yes, Trump and Putin essentially do get along. That's true. Putin and Trump do get along. But that's only because Putin fears Trump. That's the only reason Putin and Trump get along, because Putin knows not to push around America when Trump is in charge, because America will bite back. So it's not more of a mutual respect. It's more of a, Putin won't go out of line. If Kamala wins, her administration will likely continue the Biden administration's harsh treatment of Russia. What harsh treatment? Russia's economy is doing better than ever before. They're selling oil at a much more higher price to India, which India sells it back to the West for a much more higher price. The only people that's been affected by the Russian sanctions is the West. Russia's thriving. Russia's making money head over heels because they're still selling the same oil that they sold directly to the Western countries, but now they're just selling it through a loophole for more expensive pricing. Kamala has been a strong advocate for NATO and has backed every single aid package sent to Ukraine. Yeah, because they're money laundering. Russia has a lot to lose if America tightens the screws further, especially in areas like energy exports, where sanctions have already done so much damage. They've done zero damage. For years, Putin and Trump have had a strange relationship. It started back in 2013 when the former president tweeted about hoping to meet Putin during the Miss Universe pageant in Moscow, calling an opportunity to become new best friends. Over the years, Trump often spoke warmly about Putin, calling him a strong leader, and even admiring his abilities to outsmart the US, which is true. Putin has always outsmarted the US. When Trump was in charge, not so much because he feared them. Other than that, he did. However, this strange, essentially, relationship with a few bumps along the way. During his presidency, for example, Trump imposed several rounds of sanctions on Russia, targeting everything from energy to defense, which wasn't exactly what Putin had in mind. Yeah, even though essentially Trump and Putin have this, as the news claims, Putin and Trump are like brothers, when Trump came into power, he actually did some sanctionings. Not the sanctionings that essentially Sleepy Joe and Kamala Harris have going on, where they're skimming money off the top. No, not money laundering, actual sanctioning, which Putin never saw coming, because Trump cares about his country, not what the news explains as Putin and Trump are like best friends. When Trump came into power, were they like best friends? No, Russia was struggling. Do you know who else was struggling when Trump came into power? Iran, which was good. By the way, if anybody's wondering, I'm Persian, so I'm Iranian. I don't like the Iranian government, never did, never will. I prefer the Shah of Iran, the royal family of Iran. But, good. Iran was struggling as well because everybody feared them. But obviously this new government, Trump also approved military exercises in the Baltics and sanctioned Russia's officials, including Chechen leader Ramazan. But despite these measures, the politicians continue to express a desire to improve relationships with Putin, often contradicting everyone else during his administration. Yeah, when Trump essentially became president, obviously his sense changed because he cares about his country. But the news explained it as Putin and Russia are into bed together. The news explained it as Putin and Trump are in bed together, which was not the case. When he was in power, essentially, he did what a president was supposed to do: look after his country. Now, BitGo is what we're going to talk about next. BitGo Exchange has approved a crypto custodian for Swiss SIX exchange, which is massive news. I'll tell you why. Essentially, Swiss SIX exchange is an exchange that's been a part of everything Switzerland has done, from the tokenized bonds that Switzerland has done, from CBDC testing of payments that Switzerland has done. Everything Switzerland, all these banks in Switzerland that have been doing testings on blockchain technology, the Swiss SIX exchange was a part of. Now, BitGo has just been approved as the crypto custodian, keyword here, for Swiss SIX exchange. BitGo has secured approval as a custodian under the SIX exchange regulation crypto asset rule, further expanding its presence in the European crypto market. The company now provides regulated custodial services in compliance with Swiss financial regulators, per a company statement on X. BitGo's approval under the SIX exchange Switzerland primary stock exchange strengthens its role as a provider of secure, compliant storage solutions for digital assets like crypto. BitGo is becoming where institutions and banks can use, essentially the BitGo exchange is being used where banks and institutions in Switzerland can use it for custodial wallet services. BitGo's Europe's custodial services will be supported by a $250 million insurance policy, providing additional protection for its clients. In early August, BitGo received a major payment institution license from Singapore's Monetary Authority, allowing it to offer regulated crypto payment services in the country. This approval followed an initial in-principle agreement 6 months earlier and positioned BitGo among 27 other companies with full MPI licensings. Similar to SIX approval, this license enabled BitGo to provide crypto custody, trading, and insured storage solutions to Singapore clients. SIX Exchange is a Swiss company that provides securities, financial information, and payment services. It is Switzerland's primary stock exchange, known for its listings of a wide range of securities, including stocks, bonds, and exchange-traded products. It operates as a part of a larger SIX group, which provides services in securities, trading, financial information, and payment transactions. Now, why is it interesting that the Swiss SIX exchange has partnered with BitGo. The Swiss SIX exchange could have partnered with Coinbase. They could have partnered with Binance. They could have partnered with Crypto.com. But they partnered with BitGo for custodial services. So here's something you should know about BitGo Exchange. By the way, BitGo Exchange is the same exchange that also partnered with major, essentially, Austrian and German banks. One of them is a government bank, and which I revealed a long time ago of whose BitGo's partner is. So here's a little refresh on the memory. BitGo is a partner of Ripple since 2018. They collaborated to provide enterprise wallet solutions for XRP, the native cryptocurrency of Ripple. This partnership made it easier for financial institutions and other customers to securely hold and manage their XRP. And now BitGo is a partner of the only stock exchange in Switzerland where financial institutions are going to be using it as a wallet service provider. BitGo is a partner of Ripple since 2018. They collaborated to provide enterprise wallet solutions for XRP. This partnership made it easier for financial institutions to secure their assets like XRP. Again, the only stock exchange in Switzerland, which works with all the banks and all the financial institutions, could have partnered with Coinbase. It's a bigger exchange. If they wanted to, BlackRock is using Coinbase. They could have used Crypto.com. It's a bigger exchange. They could have used Binance. It's a bigger exchange. No, they chose BitGo for a reason. The same way the German bank chose Bitpanda for a reason, also a Ripple partner. The German banks said, we chose the best option available for us. The best option could have been Coinbase. Again, it was bigger. Binance is a bigger exchange. Crypto.com is a bigger exchange. But no, they chose Bitpanda and BitGo for a reason. Yeah, the banks and institutions are doing very coordinated movements on who their partnerships are going to be, which is massive news, by the way. BitGo is the official partner of the Swiss SIX exchange, the biggest and the only exchange inside of Switzerland that works with all the banks in Switzerland, that works with all the institutions in Switzerland, that does all the testings for CBDCs, does all the testings for tokenized bonds, is now partnered with a Ripple partner. Now, Binance. Binance launches fixed rate loans. Loans are going to be a big thing inside the crypto space as we progress, more forward. Borrowing against your crypto assets is going to happen a lot more frequently. So, Binance launches a fixed rate loans. Binance Loans has introduced a new feature, fixed rate loans. The new offering allows users to secure stablecoin loans with a fixed annual percentage rate over their entire loan period, providing greater financial predictability. The Binance BNB service allows users to place borrowing or supply orders within the platform. Borrowers can set up loan terms, select eligible collateral from their spot, essentially wallets, and have funds transferred once the order is matched. Per Binance's release, this service will offer a fixed-term loan with a custom APR fixed for their entire order period, ensuring a smooth and straightforward financial experience for both suppliers and borrowers. Repayment must be completed before the loan expires to avoid additional late fees. Lenders can also place supply orders, which will be matched for correspondent borrowers. The principal is protected by Binance, and the interest acquires upon matching. What does this mean for crypto? Introducing fixed rate loans is a newer concept for crypto space because it adds a layer of stability to typically volatile markets. Traditional crypto loans usually come with variable rates that fluctuate based on market conditions, creating uncertainties. In contrast, fixed rate loans provide a predictable interest rate throughout the loan's term, making financial planning easier. Binance's move brings a more traditional financial tool to the crypto world, offering users greater flexibility and control over their debt management. While the fixed rate loans essentially feature provides a benefits like predictable rates, its availability may vary by region. As Binance expands its offerings, users are advised to check local access to their services and review associated terms and conditions carefully. So, Binance is about to be offering loan services essentially to quite a lot of jurisdictions. You can use your cryptocurrencies as collateral to borrow against your crypto assets and obviously go for the best ROI, return on your investments. It's something that's going to be introduced a lot more as we go along in terms of regulations. More regulations come in place, more things like this will happen. And the number one way to skip crypto tax. Number one way to skip crypto tax is to borrow against your crypto assets. And Binance has just opened their doors to that matter. Now, the next news we're going to talk about is MasterCard. But before we go through that, let's go to the comment section. Thanks, folks, very much. New problem. I'm going to... Let's go. Do you think we are safe to invest more into TON? Great question, Jason. Do you think we are safe to invest more into TON? It's a risky project. It's a great ecosystem, amazing ecosystem regarding TON, but it's on the risky side. So it's, if you want to, it could do a massive upside. I'll be honest as well. TON could do a massive upside. Once all of this is done, it could do a massive upside. Once they get their piece of the pie, in other words. Kamala will ruin our society along with the stock market. What's she going to do if China invades Taiwan? Scary thoughts. Yep. Mouse, if Goldfish is controlled by the upper election, she wins with a rigged election. How can Putin think that he can control her if she is controlled? Great question. Mainly because this whole big change that's coming regarding the CBDC world, there's a few countries in play that's going to take charge of a CBDC world. And those few countries that are going to take charge in a CBDC world are China and Russia. If the US wants to take charge in a CBDC world, it can't be Kamala in charge. Trump has to be in charge for the US to take charge in a CBDC world. If Kamala's in charge in a CBDC world, then China and Russia will take the ranks in a CBDC world. The CBDC world is going to happen either way, but the discussion is who wants to take the ranks as number one place. Is it going to be the US that takes the number one seat in a CBDC world, or is it going to be China and Russia that takes the number one seat in a CBDC world? So far, the Bank of International Settlements is also praising China's work on CBDCs and social credit systems. So if America falls, China and Russia continue forward. In a CBDC world, they become the superchargers and the superheads, because Kamala will be chosen as the downfall of the US on purpose. If Trump is chosen, essentially, then the US can continue as the super house it is and turn things around, and will still also go into CBDCs. Trump will still have to go into CBDCs, but the US could be sitting at seat number one in a CBDC world with Trump. Trump or Kamala, CBDCs is happening. If we go into CBDCs with Trump, the leader of America, then the US will have the number one seat in CBDCs. If we go with Kamala, China and Russia will eventually take the ranks in a CBDC world, and the US will fall, and she's chosen basically as bait, as the start of bait. So that's what mostly is about. The Bank of International Settlements, they've praised the CBDC work and the social credit system work of China quite a lot. A lot. So that's what it comes down to. Kamala comes in charge, downfall of America, Russia and China take the lead. All the way around, Trump gets in charge, America has seat number one, still in a CBDC world, but it has number one seat. It's about who's going to take that seat. Think of it as musical chairs. Think of it as musical chairs. It's about who's going to take that seat when the music stops. So think of one seat. Everybody's played musical chairs when they were younger. So think of it as musical chairs. There's one seat, and America, China, and Russia are dancing around that one seat. When the music stops, one person has to sit on that seat. Who's it going to be in a CBDC world? Because if it's Kamala, America's not sitting on that seat. If it's Trump, he will sit on that seat, and America will have CBDCs and will sit on number one. That's basically what it is. When the music stops, somebody has to sit on that seat. Is it going to be US? Is it going to be China? Or is it going to be Russia? Somebody needs to be the powerhouse. And the powerhouse, if it's Kamala, it's not going to happen. Downfall, somebody else takes the seat. If it's Trump, CBDC is still happening, but he will take the seat. So when the music stops, somebody has to take that seat in the CBDC world. Who's it going to be? Shelly, morning. How you doing? And you've reached at the end of tonight's live show as well. How you doing, Shelly? Morning. USA is what JP says. Let's go. Actually, no, we haven't finished. One. MasterCard. MasterCard debuts Euro non-custodial Bitcoin and crypto debit cards. MasterCard, a global leader of financial services, has recently debuted a Bitcoin and cryptocurrency debit card. This innovative product allows users to spend their Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies directly over 100 million merchants within MasterCard's extensive global network. MasterCard's debuts BTC crypto debit cards has essentially been noted by Bitcoin magazine. The new debit card to be non-custodial, the users will be able to manage their cryptocurrencies on their own without other people's involvements. This is useful as it offers a user's max security and self-governance, which is important to guaranteeing that the user's funds are secure at all times. This launch is expected to contribute to the adoption of cryptocurrencies, particularly in Europe, where demand for digital currencies is increasing. With MasterCard's vast network, cardholders can seamlessly use their cryptocurrencies at a much more wide range of retail locations, making the use of cryptocurrencies as simple as trading traditional fiat currencies. MasterCard and blockchain strategies. The new plan is to introduce a non-custodial debit card. Is also part of MasterCard's broader strategy for adapting Bitcoin and blockchain technology. In the last several years, the company has stepped up the involvement with cryptos by partnering with entrepreneurs in the sector and creating products that meet the needs of the rising industry. The availability of several cryptocurrencies on the debit cards enables users to perform a variety of transactions and options. This simplifies and optimizes the buyer's payments with digital assets, since no complicated process is followed. As the card turns cryptocurrencies into euros at a time of purchase, MasterCard has recorded more than 100 million merchants in the world, which gives wider ecosystems for the use of cryptocurrencies. The company stands out as the growing financial sector by ensuring clients and finds it easier to use digital assets. So that was the last news of tonight's live show regarding MasterCard launching their first ever non-custodial crypto bank card inside of the EU market space only, but also a great milestone for Microsoft, for MasterCard as well. MasterCard, why do I keep on saying Microsoft? MasterCard introduced this idea a while ago when they were doing testings with 6 other essentially blockchain companies. Now they're pretty much ready to be functional, but only in the EU market space due to the MiCA regulations mainly. They're probably waiting for other regulations to come through in different jurisdictions, but for now they're operating in the EU, which is still a great major milestone from where we were to where we've come from inside the crypto space. So we have also reached, doesn't matter miles, I'll rewatch it, Down and Out with the Flu. Ooh, Shelly, I'm sorry to hear that. Hope you get better soon. Very sorry to hear that. Night Miles, the CMF. Free forever. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Good night, Miles. To all the CMF, thank you for all the news. JP, see you tomorrow, brother, same time as usual. And we have reached the end of tonight's live show as well. That was the last news of tonight's live show. So we talked about Putin essentially and Kamala Harris, how Putin's in favor of Kamala Harris. We talked about BitGo essentially being approved on 6 digital exchange, on Swiss 6 exchange, which is massive news for BitGo exchange and Ripple. We also talked about Binance launching loans and using cryptocurrencies as collateral. We talked about MasterCard regarding their crypto service they're just offering in the EU right now in terms of bank cards. We talked about Mark Cuban and Kamala Harris. We talked about essentially Telegram's founder giving a speech of how he was treated and how things went down. We talked about Dubai in terms of crypto regulation policies, what they've introduced. We talked about essentially Sui Play, the gaming handheld device coming from Sui. We talked about Donald Trump and Elon Musk. We talked about Ripple's legal victory, essentially the perspective of are they going to be sued or not. We talked about Venezuela's opposition leaders. We talked about Visa and Santander selected by Brazil's central bank, which are also Ripple partners. We also talked in terms of CBDCs. We also talked about the Bank of Japan on tonight's live show as well. So if you enjoyed tonight's live show, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night. This was the CMF live show. I talk about the most recent things that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations. If you enjoyed tonight's live show, drop a follow, drop a like. If you watch us on X, drop a follow, drop a like. If you watch us on YouTube, drop a like, subscribe, and drop a comment as well. I will be seeing everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're around the world. Good night, Miles of CMF. Free and forever. See you tomorrow. JP, see you tomorrow. Same time as usual. Good night, Miles of CMF. Mike, see you tomorrow, but same time as usual. Good night, Miles and family. Great live. Many thanks. See you tomorrow. Ian, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Thanks, Miles. Good night, all. Stormy, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Pablo, night, Miles. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. I'll see everybody tomorrow. Same timing as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're around the world. CMF, see you tomorrow, sometimes as usual. Also, we have our own Telegram group as well. And join the Telegram. It's completely free if anybody wants to join it. The link is on X, the link is on YouTube as well. And this is a free live show that I do every single night at 11:25 p.m. UK time or 11:30 p.m. UK time. You can tune to this live show every single night. This was episode 148. Episode 149 is tomorrow. Great live. Thanks, Miles, and good night, everyone. See you tomorrow. Solomon, see you tomorrow sometime as usual. Good night, all. Troy, see you tomorrow sometime.